Hello you guys, and welcome to Abundantly Minimal. My name is Sarah, and today we've actually got a little bit different video than normal. Recently, Buzzfeed video featured a video called I Tried Out Minimalism for a Week, and it's done very well. It's actually, at this point of recording this, has well over 1 million views, and I think it's really exciting that they're featuring minimalism and trying to spread that message. This particular video featured the journey of Sky, who recently tried to drastically simplify the items that she owned, particularly clothing items, different personal care and beauty products, and a few other key possessions. If you haven't yet seen the video, I'll link it down below for you in the description field to check it out. But basically, in her week-long experiment, she started out feeling really good about drastically simplifying things. She got down to around maybe 20 to 30 items for the week. But then throughout the experiment and towards the end, she was really struggling and feeling limited by the items she had, since she wished that she had more. It was a really drastic shift. And while I think that there was a lot of good that comes out of it, I think it could leave a different idea or impression of minimalism for people in thinking that it has to be an extreme lifestyle. So I want to talk about that a little bit today and give my 4 best tips to anyone who's starting their minimalist journey or wants to see if this lifestyle might be for them. So let's get into it. So my first best tip for Sky or anyone else who might be trying to start their minimalism journey is to think from more of a perspective of moderation, or like moderate minimalism, rather than an extreme idea. Yes, there's definitely people who manage to live out of a backpack. There are people who have 100 items or less. There are a lot of these examples of maybe more of an extreme version of minimalism. However, I don't think that is necessarily the path that everyone has to take. My husband and I would say, have a very moderate version of minimalism. We've simplified a lot and are living with things that bring a lot of joy to our lives and are very useful to us. But that doesn't mean we have, a tiny fraction of items. I know for me, I have roughly 80 pieces of clothing. For some, maybe that's not minimalist enough, but for me, it's really helpful because the items that I have, I really love and get a lot of value and wear out of. In the video, Sky went from 300 pieces of clothing down to what appeared to be less than 15 or 20. You don't have to make such a drastic cut. If you gradually go through and take your time during the process, it's a lot more positive, and you're not just picking the bare bones items, but the things that make you happy. I personally don't believe you have to get rid of something just to get rid of something to reduce the numbers. Only get rid of the things that don't bring you any joy or value, or that you don't use. And I think you might find you do have some of those around. I don't think it has to be an extreme lifestyle. So moderation is key, and I think taking your time can help too, especially if you're just getting started. My second tip, sort of related to the first one, don't limit yourself to a certain number of items. My husband and I have been on this minimalist journey for about 2 years now, and it's definitely been gradual over time. I don't want to ever force myself to live with a certain number of items. I don't think that's the intention of the lifestyle. In the video that Buzzfeed put together, they did interview the minimalists, who I'm also a big fan of, and one of the minimalists, Joshua Fields Milburn, was talking about focusing on the why power with minimalism. Think about why you want to do this. And there's a lot of whys. There's a lot of benefits to minimalism. And I'll actually link a video up here where I talk about some of those benefits. But the idea here, this is about why you want to do it. You don't have to limit yourself to any certain number. I know that it's kind of interesting and a good motivation for some maybe to have a certain number of items, but ultimately how much you have really depends on who you are and what you need and use. To have this be a really sustainable lifestyle, and I think one that makes you really happy, that number is going to look very different for everyone, and there's no need to be extreme about it and try to limit yourself to a certain number. It may happen on its own that you get there eventually. I don't even know how many items that we've gotten rid of over the last 2 years, but I think whatever path you're on is fine. My third tip is to not feel like you need to justify certain items to anyone or try to compare yourself to others. In the video, Sky was really justifying and providing a lot of rationale about the items she was keeping, which I think could be a helpful process if you're in the decluttering stage. And obviously, you know, for a Buzzfeed video that's going to get a lot of views, she was putting herself out there. But I think ultimately you don't have to try to prove to anyone what you're keeping and why you're keeping what you're getting rid of. It's really a journey that you yourself can go on, and maybe you can justify things to yourself, but I don't think it should be something that where you're trying to compare exactly what you're keeping, what you're getting rid of. I think it can be helpful to see what other people are doing, but it shouldn't be like, well, they're doing this, so I should do it too. You don't have to prove yourself as a minimalist to anyone else. It's all about the journey that you are on and what you are experiencing, what adds value to you. That's what matters, not what other people think about what you're doing. And finally, my last tip for Sky or any other aspiring minimalists would be to start early. I think the sooner that you can start living that sort of lifestyle, the more beneficial it can be. One thing I noticed with Sky's progress, she was counting up her items, maybe just part of the phase of life she's on. She's still pretty young. She doesn't actually have that many items. I feel like the items she had would be very comparable to someone who is in college or someone who's living on their own for the first time, and she doesn't yet have like a whole house worth of items. So if this is something she wants to continue pursuing, I would really encourage her to start implementing it gradually, because I think one of the best, especially financial sides to minimalism, is that it can really drastically cut the amount of stuff that you're buying and bringing into your life. Obviously, the decluttering part, the getting rid of stuff, is a first step if you're already living in excess. But even if you just go forward and say, I'm going to limit the items that I bring into my life, you can save so much money over time, preventing some of the items from coming into your life in the first place. When you're shopping, I think minimalists tend to be more careful with the items that they're purchasing. Not as many impulse buys or consuming for the sake of consuming, buying for the sake of buying, for the enjoyment of buying, I guess. In general, you take extra time, you're more particular about maybe how an item was made or what it's made out of, and sometimes maybe that even means you're buying more used things. There's not one path for everyone, but I think that the earlier you can start on a minimalist journey can be exponentially more beneficial to you, not only in preventing future clutter in your house, but even just in terms of the money. So Sky, if you do happen to watch this, or anyone else who is in a similar place, I'd encourage you, even if you don't feel like you're ready to jump in head first or anything, start trying to think about some of these principles. If this is a lifestyle that you think could work for you, starting earlier before you've accumulated all the future stuff that you could buy, I think can be really, really helpful. So those are my 4 best tips for anyone who wants to start a minimalist journey. I hope that I kind of cleared up a few of the things that I felt could have been more helpful in the Buzzfeed video. Again, it's linked down below if you're curious in checking out the original. If you enjoy minimalist related content, I do post 3 videos a week and would love to have you here as part of the community as a subscriber. Other than that, have a great day and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!